Welcome, guys, to the SOMA MATER podcast. My name is Maria Clara, part of the SOMA MATER team. And today we're here at Emirates Biofarm Organic Fest, and we're interviewing a few of special guests that we have here. And right now we have Omar Shihab, who is the founder and CSO of Boca restaurant here in Dubai. And we're going to ask him a few questions. So let's just jump right into it, right? So first of all, I want to know, from what I believe you've lived in the UAE for a long time, how has that influenced how you source food into the restaurant, right? So produce, where that's coming from, the selection, has that had an impact on the decision that you've made?
You're right. I think that's, partly where it comes from. I grew up here. I was born, brought up. My parents are originally from Jordan. But growing up here, I think kind of helped me understand a little bit about the landscape.
Right.
My father was adamant as taking us to the fish market, taking us, out in the desert in the good season, exploring most of the Emirates, coming out to Al Ain, to Jebel Hafid. So in a way, I grew up with this landscape,
Right.
and it moving past all of this in a later stage of my career, when I decided to get into hospitality and the restaurant world, regardless of the cuisine that we were building, I wanted a space that had a sense of place, if you like, that kind of represented where we are.
Right.
More and more restaurants and hospitality in general, and perhaps spills over into retail, are becoming very homogenous in big urban spaces and big urban cities. So having that link with the local landscape, with nature, with earth, with the access to the seas that we have here, I think we're losing a bit of that.
Right.
But that's what I feel gives identity and kind of a special feeling for those who walk into the restaurant. So those were the initial thoughts of building and creating the sustainability program that it is today. It was that was not the case when we entered. It was just wanting to build a restaurant with a real sense of place.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think that's what we see at this event here. People are experiencing the real experience for once. And so just wanted to know, so how has been that experience of sourcing, right? Have you sourced locally, regionally? Is it global? What's the range that you're working with?
So initially we approached it with mindset that, okay, this is, at the end of the day, mostly non-arable land. As we know, less than 2% of the land you can grow things on. But we have access to 1,400 kilometers of coastline,
right,
overlooking 2 bodies of ocean. So that's what we approached. But we wanted to approach it with a bit of intention. There is a fishing calendar on what used to be the Ministry of Fisheries, no longer there. I think it's the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, where it lists most of the species that live in the Gulf and what are the better months to be consuming them.
Right.
And that's why we went. Plus a little bit of cash in hand, because in the market, you can't approach it with the same way that our suppliers approach us. Credit notes and a proper receipt. So I had to convince perhaps our accounting team, our procurement, that we're going to give cash in hand to the chefs. They're going to come back with a scribbled note for a receipt, but it's going to pay off on the long term.
Right.
And we're going to have access to local produce that you can't see in most commercial kitchens. This was the mindset initially. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges in everything that you do around sustainability, if you like. If you're unable to change some of the processes, some of the internal workings of our business, which happens to be a restaurant, then it risks ending up as a nice initiative or a small little program, a blip on the radar. But we were intentional at making a systematic change that will last. So
Amazing.
those were the initial days, and obviously from that point onwards, the restaurant's lifetime was during this exciting era of food security coming into play in the UAE and becoming so important. And that's when we started seeing a lot of farms come online
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of exciting
It was the
produce.
boom. Yeah.
Exactly, whether it was organic and conventional farming, or agri-tech producers,
Yeah.
or producers like Dibebe with their oysters, or the fish farms. So it was all about staying curious, all about research, all about getting out, stepping out of the restaurants and visiting places like Emirates Biofarm and a lot of other fascinating places in the Western region, Central region.
Right. It's exploring the ecosystem that we've built, right? All right. So, these 3 days, there's a lot of people that are going to walk in and out of this farm. And so from a perspective of a restaurant goer, right, what do you think are some misconceptions that these people might have about the value of locally sourced ingredients, if any?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, well, first of all, most people, and Yazan will tell you, they're fascinated the moment they come out here,
Yeah.
saying, "What? You can grow all of this, and it's incredible variety, and the quality is fascinating. Why can't we see more of this on the shelves of supermarkets, in restaurants?" Now, having a deeper understanding of the workings of how logistics and procurement, and generally the food system is rife with a lot of complexity. And this is a market that is, free market. This is open market. So traders come into play. Obviously, the commercial aspect, which is obviously very crucial to sustain any business. So that I think trying to understand also some of the pain points, some of the challenges for both a farmer, a producer, but also a chef and a restaurant. We were talking earlier in the session that one of the biggest challenges that we have is the economics of restaurants at the moment.
Yeah.
We are building bigger, we're building greater spaces, 300 plus seats in a single restaurant. Dining out is no longer about what's on the plate, but it's a lot more about the ambience and the atmosphere and the entertainment. And mind you, I think hospitality needs to delight. Hospitality and restaurants need to be beautiful places. The food needs to be delicious. It needs to be entertaining. But when you have a big focus and a huge competition that is driving a different aspect, it becomes, less. You have less and less time to focus on some of the things you want to do, coming out to the farm and connecting with places like Emirates Biofarm. But conversations like this really, really help.
Yeah.
A platform like the Organic Festival, I think it's really crucial.
Yeah.
I would love to see this, and it has potential to become an important platform for bringing people together, whether it's, the guests, the consumers, the chefs, the producers, some of the other auxiliary or side businesses that are connected. We met a guy that just started this juice business. So there's so many things that come into play, and really platforms and events like this definitely help.
Yeah, I think these 3 days, people are going to be asking different questions and bringing meaning to the plate. I think that's the main goal.
So true.
All right, Omar, thank you so much for your time. And it was a pleasure. And we'll see you around. Thank you.